WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. Nothing more positive than spending Thursday afternoons here on WNST, as well as Sunday mornings, with this guy, Dennis Koulatsos, joining us now, host of the Dennis Koulatsos Show, formerly known as the Sunday Sports Voice, but still heard on Sundays, but live on Thursdays from 3 until 5. You can follow him out on Twitter and follow him all the way to Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. We've had our text service working here the last few days. There'll be some updates on Orioles and Ravens, but dude, this is your week. This is usually the week where I'm begging you to come to Indianapolis, hang out, do the combine. I've invited you for going on a decade now, right? You've never gone, and now I've kind of quit on it. I'm like, you know what? They put us in the corner, over the hills, in the back of the convention hall. They don't want us there. I don't need a weekend in Indianapolis. And Marvin Lewis isn't there to drink with me anymore. So I've given up on it. But I'm like a lot of the coaches. Apparently a couple organizations aren't sending their scouts, Dennis. They're watching it on the NFL Network.
Yeah, they're tapping out as well, which I can't figure that out. I know there's a lot of tape out there on the players. I know that they have the opportunity to go visit them after school during pro days. So I don't get it. I would be there if I had that chance. I'm not crazy about the venue. They're going to move it out of there eventually, and I know that the Ursays are fighting it. They want to keep it there for obvious reasons. It's very convenient for themselves and their coaching staff. But it
also makes a lot of money for Indianapolis. You know how much money I've left in Indianapolis the last 15 years going? I mean, so, from 4 nights in a hotel to, going out to dinner with Luke to all of that. I mean, and the coaches tip well. You know what I mean? So being out late at night, Indianapolis is vibrant this week, despite the weather, every night.
Yeah, great place to be at. They're doing some things to enhance the workouts. They're going to show some things that translate better on the football field, some of the drills. So they're doing some different things to attract eyeballs and also to give the coaches a better feel for what these college players are going to look like at the next level. And it is what it is. I was surprised to see the Broncos and the Rams tap out of it. I didn't see that one coming.
Dennis, for you with the Ravens and where they are as an organization, and obviously the amount of confidence. That's one thing in talking to people this week. The amount of confidence anyone would have in the Ravens to say, all right, they need a couple linebackers. They need a D lineman or two. Maybe they would draft another running back, certainly trying to replace Marshall Yanda and the wide receiver position as well, where they would do some augmenting. But the coaches are all together, the organization's together, they have this transcendent quarterback and a philosophy to go along with it, and they have a lot of draft picks and a lot of capital, and the Matt Judon thing aside and the Tony Jefferson cut aside, that there are very few people right now that don't believe that the Ravens will go out to Indianapolis and come back and be big winners once they're out in the Bellagio throwing Goodell into the pool next month, right?
Yeah, they're not done yet, though, because what will happen is they're going to acquire some additional draft capital from the C.J. Mosley signing and also the Darius Smith. They may have 6 or 7 picks in the first 4 rounds, Nestor. And now there's a hot rumor that the Jaguars and the Patriots, they'd like to have Hayden Hurst on their teams. I don't know if Eric DaCosta is in the mood to move away from Hayden. We certainly have seen the hands that he's had. But we've also seen frustration on his part. He says he's open all the time, and he is open a lot. Although he did have a ball bounce off his hip in the playoff game against the Titans, but that aside, Mark Andrews gets most of the balls, most of Lamar Jackson's attention. So they may parlay Hayden Hurst at his advanced age. He's 26 or 27 years old into another draft pick. So there's some smoke there, and I think there's a developing story to keep an eye on.
Dennis, for, I guess, all of us locally in the aftermath of the Ravens and the Underwear Olympics, and the Ravens probably aren't going to do much this week except talk and probably not say much, the Terps have really kind of moved to the front, and felt like a lot of folks on my timeline are, buying in for the 2 hours every third or fourth day at these weird start times. You never know when they're playing or where or why. But I know it's kind of a slow time. NASCAR, we got, you like the fights and the MMA, and people are into golf, and we'll be getting to that. But the Terps are sort of the meat and potatoes. In college basketball, all the local teams won this week. Coppin's winning. Towson's winning. I had Ryan Odom on this week over at UMBC. They're winning some games. We got some conference tournaments coming up in 2 weeks. weeks where a lot of local teams, Coppin and Morgan involved as well. Loyola's, had a much better campaign. All of these teams are mixed it up, but Maryland has a chance here to sort of carry March and hold us through 2-3 weekends, maybe something the Ravens didn't do when they sort of wet the bed the first weekend of the playoffs. We're all like, well, what happened? With the Terps, it feels like they're going to be playing the second weekend. It really does.
Yeah, it does. They had a shot to maybe earn a number one seed. They let that slip through their fingers. Still the number one team in the Big Ten. So, look, lots of time left. As you mentioned, they're going to carry March for us, and this team will go as far as their point guard and Sticks takes them. Those two guys have got to show up every game. They've got to lead the team, and if they can stay hot and if they do what they do, they're going to be a very tough out in the tournament. However, if one or the other doesn't have a great game, it's going to be very difficult. They only go 6 deep. That's the other thing. They don't have a very deep bench. So once you get past the sixth guy, and they can't afford foul trouble either. Clearly, we saw that in the road loss to Ohio State.
Well, in the case of depth and getting into foul trouble early in games and falling behind, and I had no problem with the Ohio State game that they tried to do it without those guys, couldn't do it on the road against the top 25 team. I think that bodes well. But it's also there is a plan here. Get Sticks on the bench. Get in Cowan's face, and for a team that shot the ball so well, that was the thing for Ohio State. I can see why they're a top 25 team. You got to guard the perimeter in the Big Ten.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They've got a couple of big men in there. It's always a tough out to beat someone on their own home court in the Big Ten. But look, we got used to the Terps doing it, right? They had 9 or 10 straight wins before that loss, and look, I'd rather get a loss now than later, right? Maybe that'll make them a little bit more humble, a little bit more hungry as they get into the tournament.
Yeah, I said that's the one thing the Ravens didn't do was lose a game late in the year. Probably would have helped them out in the long run. Dennis Koulatsos here, Coons Florida Security Boulevard. He's here on Thursday from 3 until 5, and again on Sunday mornings with the Dennis Koulatsos Show. What's going on out of Coons Ford, man? We got, President's Day's over, St. Patrick's Day's coming up, but I would say this. You, for years, have talked about the heated seats, the heated steering wheels, the four-wheel drive and all that. What happened to winter, man? I mean, we're already to spring.
Yeah, we bypass winter for sure, which is okay, but still the rainy weather still creates sales opportunities for us. And a lot of accidents out there in inclement weather. Then you have the bright sun, so we're always busy for one reason or another. People just love automobiles. So the average trade cycle in Nestor is 18 to 24 months. So people do come out to see us more frequently than one would think, and Ford is still supporting us with some wonderful offers, still 0% for 72 months, still out there. Money's crazy cheap to borrow, and the deals have never been better. F-Series through the roof. We got the big Bronco coming this year, the Mach-E, the electric Mustang lookalike SUV. So we have a lot of great product right here, right now, and more on its way. I can't wait to see the big Bronco. I'll pick you up and take you for a ride with the first one that I get.
You see people flipping a car every 18 or 24 months. I would think the cars change dramatically in the computer era, right? Like from having a car that doesn't have a reverse camera on it when you back up, or motion sensors and the kinds of things that cars have, that when you do get a car, a 17 model versus a 20 or a 21 model, huge difference in literally what's in the vehicle too, right?
Yeah, if you haven't bought a car in 3 or 4 years, you're literally buying a spaceship. Our sales team spends 2 or 3 hours after the pet comes off the contract just to show you how the thing works. A lot of them park themselves. You have lane assistance keeping. I mean, the technology for these things to drive themselves, it's already there. It's just a matter of time before you just get in and say, take me to Camden Yards or take me to whatever restaurant, and it'll take you right then and there without you having to touch any buttons. I can see the day where there'll be no steering wheel, no brake pedal, no accelerator, Nestor. You just hop in and you just go.
It sounds like you've been to a lot of Ford Motor Company meetings. It sounds like they're telling you that this stuff's happening. And when I told people this 2-3 years ago, they looked at me like I was reading too much Marshall McLuhan on the outside.
Yeah, the technology is moving very fast, Nestor. And from a sports perspective, when they're able to send a jumbo jet overseas across the pond in about 3 hours, and that should happen right around 2023. I think that's when you'll see maybe a team like the Jaguars move to London and play their home games out of that stadium, because 3.5 hours to the East Coast is nothing, and you can just see that the world becoming smaller, and the major leagues, beginning with the NFL, start to expand and become more global leagues.
It's a small world after all, is it not?
Getting smaller by the minute.
Well, it's kind of like the Orioles crowd. Where are you
funny.
with them? I mean, look. I'm
trying.
I'm knocking out punchlines, and you're laughing and whatnot.
I'm
and
trying.
and I threw out a line about has anybody seen or heard of the manager? I literally on your show last week.
On my show, it was.
I literally just forgot his name. Like I'm like, what's his name again? He hasn't been in the news. He hasn't been in front of me. I just don't know what they're doing, man. I mean, it really feels to me like if you're trying to move the franchise, you try to kill it first, like in the movie Major League. And when you don't put your tickets on sale and you don't parade your players around and you talk about this caravan they did, and I almost cried, man. Like, as I'm watching the caravan and I'm seeing like Mark Viviano put up on Twitter that there's people greeting the players down on the Annapolis Pier, and I see 25 fans huddled around the man, and I'm thinking to myself, that's not something to crow about. You know what I mean? Like, something to crow about is when you put 15,000 people down at the convention center and have line around the building. That's when you have something strong. I don't know what they're going to do between now and opening day to get anybody back downtown. And as you know, my real feeling is for Baltimore Positive, and I live downtown. And it may be okay with them that they suck and no one's coming to the games. It's not okay with me.
Well, for my part, Nestor, I'm trying to learn the players, right? So I'm making an effort to at least learn who's on the team. So I Googled the Baltimore Orioles roster, and begins with Chris Davis, goes on to Trey Mancini, Jose Iglesias, but I'm trying to learn who these players are. I'm making an effort once again, like I do every year. I try to restart myself to try to figure out who they are, and I try to pay attention. And, my intentions are good, at least early on, but losing gets old, right? The 100 games, it's painful to watch, but you're right. They've been out of the news, and they should be more prominent. But myself as a fan, I'm trying to buy in. I'm doing all that I can.
Well, there's no, and not to be a jerk, but I mean, I'll say what I really feel. Like they should be embarrassed. You know what I mean? They should be disgraced for losing, for not really putting a real effort out, for putting this out and calling it. I mean, it's disgraceful. I mean, if you sold beaten up cars that didn't work, or you know what I mean, like, you'd be out of business in a minute. Like, if you weren't at the top of your game, there'd be no Coons Ford, there'd be no WNST, and yet they're now going into the third year of this empty promise of hope of the future, and here are the tickets and rolling it out, and I don't. It's okay to say we're going to lose 100 games, but you can't stop working at it. You can't stop trying to be nice to people, trying to get Dennis and Nestor and Peter back to the ballpark. I don't even see that effort to get people like us back who already love baseball and just want to be loved up and rubbed up a little bit, like, especially when you're going to lose 100 games, right?
Yeah, and there's no doubt about it. This is the perfect time for them to immerse themselves in the community, reach out, maybe sponsor a bunch of Little League teams, get out there and get the players out in the community, right? To have us meet these guys, have somebody stop by WNST, Coons Ford of Baltimore, visit all of our sponsors. It's there for the take. All it takes is just a little bit of a little bit of effort. And look, it seemed like this team was having fun at times. In the times that I did watch last year, it seemed like the clubhouse was tight. The players weren't moody. They weren't in a bad mood. They were trying to win. So the effort was there. The end result wasn't. But I think this is a great time that they could have an outreach program in the community. That's what I would do if I were them.
All I can say is you would love to go back. I would love to go back. I mean, we would love to go back with Peter DeLutis. We would love to take friends back. I have many, many friends to go back. You got to, first move is theirs, not mine. Their ballpark's empty. My heart is open. You know what I'm saying? So that's where we all are, I think, in trying to save the team for the city, which is what I really feel like the conversation needs to be until such point where people come back or there's a long-term lease. People aren't coming back, so therefore I have a feeling that's going to affect the long-term lease. I think one usually plays into the other, and the fact that the owner's living in Nashville and booking all these Nashville bands for their special nights, that there should be some people kicking around and asking questions about what the real intentions of the organization are when they don't put their tickets on sale till March.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And they still have compelling storylines, beginning with Chris Davis and the money that they owe him. What does he look like in spring training? What happens? Is he there on opening day? So there is some things of interest to keep us look at them, at least in the early going before the losing gets to be too much. But yeah, they're in the middle of an overhaul, and I don't know where this thing is going to go to. It's anybody's guess, but the signs are ominous. They're there for sure. We've seen this movie before, and it had a very unhappy ending.
So, I can never find the games, right? Like, I never know when they're on TV. No one seems to know. And I found, like, the little click-through on the Orioles website where, like, it pops up whether they're on the FM competitor or whether they're, on television. So I was going through there and trying to, like, put it on my calendar. All right, so on Wednesday they're playing. I can watch that one. They're playing on Saturday. Okay, I can watch that one. And I'm trying to, like, go through it. And I did not know this. You ready for that? I bet you don't know this. They give away Brooks Robinson bobbleheads in Sarasota this week on Wednesday. They're giving away Oriole Hawaiian print, the Hawaiian print shirts. They're giving those away on Saturday in Sarasota. They do giveaways at spring training games.
Okay.
Like,
look, if that gets Fannies in the seats, you know what? More power to them.
I mean, but there's some ingenuity to doing that. I mean, maybe some of it's the leftover stuff from literally, the stuff they didn't give away last year, or maybe they order another. If they order 15,000 for they get 3,000 more. We'll take them down to spring training and help us sell some tickets down there for a team that's going to lose under. I don't know, but there are some things where I'm like, well, somebody over there's thinking a little bit, not named Greg Bader or T.J. Brightman. You know what I mean? Like, they're trying to do something, but then when they don't put their tickets on sale and when they ban their people from, like, talking to me, I wonder, like, what are you really trying to do when your ballpark's empty? Like, I want to help you. I'm here. I'm a citizen. You know what I mean? I care about the team, if you haven't heard.
Well, they should have sent you a couple of cases of those four-print Hawaiian shirts for starters.
One. I just need one, a small. Not too big,
Look, if they sent me, I have 150 employees. If they send me a few cases, you can bet we'd probably send some people to the stadium, too. It'd probably be a good thing. At least we got us thinking it's a visual thing. Those tend to be very nice shirts, right? You support the hometown. Who doesn't want a free shirt like that? So I think that would generate maybe and spark some interest, and, maybe perhaps it's a step in the right direction.
Still trying to get that 66 Palmer throwback from a couple years ago. That's a sharp-looking one, Hey, man, we'll
go for the free stuff. There's no doubt about that.
Well, Robbie can probably get me one, right, out on the internet. I mean, I should just probably tell him, look, I got this Brooks bobblehead. I don't have out in Palmer. Take these and get me a Palmer shirt that I can wear. That's what I wanted. By the way, Jim Palmer blocked me on Twitter, and I've never done anything but love Jim Palmer. You know how I realized this? I mean, Luke retweeted Palmer on Tuesday morning, right? Because there was some picture, I think, him and Eddie Murray or whatever, and I was blocked from seeing it. Man, that kind of hurts my feelings. Anybody sees Jim Palmer, let him know he hurts my feelings, all right?
Well, maybe he got a directive from somebody above him to block you. You're still a public enemy. Look, at least they're still talking about you. That's a good thing. You're still relevant to them.
I'm still telling the truth. I mean, that's all I can do, right?
They haven't forgotten about you.
Well, I love me some Jim Palmer. I love you, Cakes.
Who doesn't?
Well, the thing about Palmer and I,
pancakes in your office up at the WNST.
Palmer played with my cousin. You know what I mean? I grew up on Palmer. My dad loved Palmer. Every wiffle ball game I ever played in Robert DeBeese's backyard, I had the Palmer, delivery. And we made him the king of Baltimore sports. I have said many, many times, Jim Palmer, and this is no disrespect to Ray Lewis or anybody else, Jim Palmer is the greatest Baltimore sports athlete there ever was. If you go back and look at the numbers and his accomplishments, it's Jim Palmer. So I'm on my Palmer kick here because, I got blocked on Twitter, and that's uncalled for. I mean, that's all I'm saying.
No love. But not surprising, though, given the state of the organization as a whole, right? It starts from the top and filters on down. And he's part of that organization, and everything speaks. Well, why he would block you is beyond me.
Yeah, I don't know. At least Dave Johnson doesn't block me. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. All right, hey, man, we will see you on Thursday. I know we got lots to do here, and I know you're combine watching and all that stuff. Appreciate you, Dan.
Thank you, Nestor. Be well.
Dennis Koulatsos, the D. Koulatsos Show is the way to find him out on Twitter. And, of course, on Thursdays from 3 until 5, it is the Dennis Koulatsos Show. Heard on Sunday morning still here at WNST. And always sponsoring our WNST tech service at Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Big appreciation to Den. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. I'm on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Snapchat and Instagram and streaming live all over the world on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. Lots of great conversation. I had a great conversation with Steve Gorman about the Black Crows book. We're doing a lot of Baltimore positive stuff this week as well around here. We have Ted Venetoulis joining us at State Fair on Thursday. Next week, Sheila Dixon will join us on my father's 101st birthday, as well as Frank Kelly to talk about Fellowship of Christian Athletes. All of the mayor candidates have been on with us. And also, if you are into such things politically, hold April the 14th. We have a very, very big announcement regarding April 14th. It is our one-year anniversary for Baltimore Positive. Don Moeller and I have put together really Don has outdone himself. I mean, how spectacular this event is going to be on April 14th. So I hope everybody holds that. Baltimore Positive, onward, upward, WNST. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Taos in Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.